Hello, hello, hello. I am so happy you guys are joining us tonight. I am so excited to be able to talk about this topic tonight because I think it's one that we don't spend a lot of time on. And the topic for tonight is what good has come out of you being single in the church? What have you learned from it? Um, it's human nature to look for the bad in ourselves and others, in the situations and whatever, right? So human nature to do that. But for tonight, I want us to think about and think on some good things that have happened in your life or in others while being single. And so I want to hear from you guys for a little bit, and then I'll share some of my thoughts as well as we go along. I'm not going to start out doing a 15-minute, half-hour blurb like I do sometimes, but I do want to share with you just a few thoughts. When we are more grateful and we look for the good in others, it actually changes our brain chemistry. It can help us to heal from different things we've experienced that may be negative in our lives. And so tonight and going forward, we're going to talk about that a little bit. And I just remembered I have a notebook I need to get. Can you see my burgundy backpack?
Where is that?
It's up in the room.
Okay.
If you can get Matthew or yeah. So anyway, Susan, we got that. Totally forgot that because I have notes in there that I plan to end with tonight. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to share some thoughts. Jennifer Williams is one of our regular panelists, I guess we can call her, and she's not able to be with us tonight, but she asked me to share with you some of her thoughts, just real briefly, about some things, really just her thoughts. And she says she wanted to just point out that we are all in the church and we're all part of a ward family, but we may feel out of place in that ward family. And then she said the best thing that she's gotten out of the singles program is brothers and sisters that love her and that she loves. She says it hit her when she allowed herself to be vulnerable with the singles group. I know she's even mentioned that here in the webinar, that she gained a family and she's found her place. So no longer does she feel out of place because she's got a family within the singles group. And a lot of times, I know I have shared my thoughts about that as well, that there's no better place to be than to find people that totally understand, or maybe not totally, but at least understand or can relate to some things that you may be going through that are different than, say, your ward family may be going through. But either way, there are just some great things that can happen while being single. And so I want to open that up to you guys, especially I know our regular panelists, they got this topic ahead of time. And so I'm going to open it up to them to share their thoughts. And if any of the others want to also share thoughts, please feel free to do that tonight. So the topic tonight is what good has come from you being single and what have you learned? So from you being single in the church. So let me open that up. Brian or Heidi, do one of you want to start off?
I can start with a couple thoughts.
Okay.
I will say a few good things that have come. Gaining a lot of friends. Definitely. I have a much broader and larger circle of friends than I did before. That's one big thing. And then just, kind of like Jennifer was talking about, sometimes you don't feel at home in your ward family. And with the single adults, we're all in the same boat. At our age, anybody who is single, there's a reason for it. Whether they've never had the opportunity to be married, divorced, widowed, whatever it is, there's challenges with all those. None of us have the perfect little LDS family with the mom and the dad and, baking pies and having everybody gathers around the dinner table for family home evening. And, some of us may be able to do some of those things, but none of us has that ideal, two parents with the kids and, everything's hunky dory.
Or so we think.
Yeah. And so, knowing that, it gives us a place to start from, with others in the singles program, as far as, we know we all have challenges. And so that opens us up to more empathy and compassion for one another. I think, looking back at the way I was when I was married the first time, it's getting a little less this way, but there's a lot of like kind of defined roles in the church, when you have that typical family, so to speak, where the dad does his calling and he, goes and helps people move, and he does this and that and whatever. And the mom, makes meals for people who are sick and all that kind of stuff, and when you are single, it often doesn't feel like you fit in there, because you can't always do all that kind of stuff, and you just kind of feel out of place sometimes. And, so knowing that others are going through the same thing, it gives you somebody to lean on and somebody for them to lean on, to help understand that and help each other along the path, because we've got things that we're working towards, and everybody's got their own goals and everything. And when you have a spouse, when you have a partner, that gives you an instant accountability partner, and it gives you an instant person who is going to encourage you and help, kind of push you along, and like you lift each other. But you don't have that when you're single necessarily. So we can all be that network for each other. So that, I think, is the biggest thing that I've gotten out of the single adult program. And then another thing, the activities are just fun. I'll just say that we have a lot of fun. I was talking to somebody last night at the dance, and she was like, yeah, before I was single, like I hardly ever danced. And it's true. Like when you're married, like I guess you could go out dancing every once in a while, but there's not like, a dance every month that you can go to. Whereas when you're single, you've got those opportunities, and it's a lot of fun. So, those are a few of the good things that have come out of, being a single adult in the church.
Awesome. That is fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing that. It can be just so much fun. And I'm like you. Oh my goodness, the friendships I have developed are stronger than any I've had in my life. It has been just amazing to me. All right. Does anyone else want to share?
I'll share.
All right. Go right ahead.
No, I've taken a break of eating. Sorry.
Okay. No, we're good.
Starving. So a lot of this stuff is going to be repetitive because it's such a vital role of what Jennifer said and what Brian has said is the relationship building. So I was trying to think of something different. And for me, I think because different times in our lives, depending on how old our kids are while we're single. So I have found that I've had more flexibility than if I was a married. Well, apparently you're not as flexible when you have someone else to be accountable for. I've not experienced that yet. I've not had to answer to anybody else. So if I want to get up and go serve, go minister, go help with this funeral, go do that, I can get up and I can go do that. So I would say that for me, and we get to have a lot of fun. Like we can have fun. We're not tied down to any one person, and we're able to give a unique perspective. in church that the others can't. Like they don't have it. They just don't have it because they never experienced it. And so if you're in a ward where there isn't a lot of singles, well, guess what? We're the voice for all of them. So if, you know, we get to be the voice for the other single people, excuse me, that might be coming, that are going to join the church, we're like paving the way. We're paving the way, just like the pioneers. We're the single pioneers, and we're paving the way for everybody else who we can have that perspective for them. And then when something does happen for us and we get married or whatever, we're not going to forget these vital years. We're not going to forget the pain, the all of the stuff that we've learned. We're going to still be able to be a voice and be able to connect with other people who will experience it, or who have not experienced it but will in the future, or even new members who come in. Like we're the voice for these people. We're paving the way for other singles, and we can bring a perspective in the church that nobody else can. And so I think that's special.
That is so incredibly awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And Heidi, I have just seen you just grow even just within the last few months. It has just been awesome to be able to see that and be a part of that. So thanks so much for sharing that. All right. So anyone else want to open this up to anyone else that you feel like is a good that's come out of being single in the church, or anything that you've learned that you want to share with anybody, with us? All right, if you do, just unmute yourself and go ahead and chime in, because we sure would love to hear from you. So like I was saying earlier, it is human nature just to kind of critique, if you will, or see the negative side of life, of ourselves, of other people, of whatever. And it is almost like retraining your brain to see the good. I went through that for a few years of retraining my brain, if you will, to see the good. And when I learned that, it was just so inspiring to me. But it's not something that can happen overnight. It's not like you can just go, I'm just going to start seeing the good in everything. It does take a little bit of time, and it does take some retraining, especially if you're on the flip side pretty strong. So what I want to do is I want to challenge you to look for the good. And every day, at some point during the day, write down 2 things that you're grateful for. If you've got pen and paper by you, maybe you can write down 2 things you're grateful for today. Then I want you to write down 2 things that are wins in your life, W-I-N-S. What are things that you think are just good things that happen today or this weekend or whatever? Something that you feel like you may want to celebrate. Like maybe if you gave a talk today, you're like, woohoo, I gave a great talk today, right? Or maybe you were able to make a comment in Sunday school. That's what we had today, Sunday school, that you felt like benefited the group that was there. Or maybe you were able to go and serve somebody today. Maybe you were able to do whatever. That's just something you can keep within yourself, but just what was it today that you did that was a good thing today? And then what is it that, say, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you'd want to look back and say, I've moved forward from now. So what goal do you have in mind, if you will, to move forward to something with personal development, or something within the gospel, or within your family, or whatever that you feel like you'd want to work on or improve or be different 5, 10 years from now? What is it that you feel like you made a step forward in that direction today? Okay. Now, if we backtrack, which again, human nature, forgive ourselves, we move on. We're going to make tomorrow a better day. So I was out in Utah this last week, and attending a convention with my work. And one day we had, oh my goodness, I cannot remember his name now. But if you watch Netflix, there's something called the Kindness Diaries. Have you guys heard of that? Can't remember the guy's name. But whoever it was that does that, he came and spoke to us. And
It's
so,
Kirby Hayborn.
thank you. Sorry, I couldn't remember the name. Thank you for doing that. So, but he said back years ago, I'm guessing, ancient times, like around the time I was born, they did something called Motorcycle Diaries, but it was like a Hollywood version of it. So what he did was a modern day version. He says he doesn't want us to think that, he just went to Hollywood, pitched an idea, and they bought it. It took him like 7 years of pitching this idea. But what he did was he started off in Times Square, and he's from England, but he started off at Times Square in New York with no money, no car, no anything. And his goal was to make it to, I think he said LA, depending on the kindness of others. And he would go up to people on the street and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Can I stay at your house tonight? He said he got a lot of no's. I can imagine. He said he had one experience that kind of changed his life, and when he was going through Chicago, and a woman, it was a waitress. She was a waitress, and I guess she lived in Chicago, and she was somewhere else, an hour or two away. And he told her what he was doing, and she said, "Well, here's the keys to my apartment." Told him where the apartment was. Said, "You can eat the chili in my fridge, and then in the morning just leave the key under the flower pot." And he said inside of him was like, "This woman's crazy," but outside he's like, "Okay." So he did that. He went to Chicago, found the apartment, slept on her couch, ate the chili in her fridge, and left the key under the flower pot. Now, I don't know if a woman would want to do that, but he did, and he was good. He said, but it humbled him at how much people were willing to sacrifice for him. But he said, and this one I don't know that I'm going to get through without crying, but I'm going to try. There was a man that he approached, and he told him what he was doing, and he told him, "Hey, could I stay at your house tonight?" And he said, "I don't have a house. I'm actually homeless. But if I had a house, you could absolutely stay there. But here's what I do have. I keep an extra bedroll for people that may need it." And he had it tied up in a trash bag. "And it's clean and it's dry, and I have extra clothes, and I can feed you tonight. So that's what I can do for you for tonight." And so for that night, he slept on the streets with this man, wherever it was. I don't remember where it was. But they had a picture, and it was on cement. The bedroll was there. He said it was quite comfortable the way the man had it made up. I don't know if he did scouts or not, but anyway. But he did that, and he fed them whatever he had. He gave them some clean clothes and clean underwear and whatever, and he was able to go on the next day. But in doing the show, what they do is when an act of kindness is given, they actually give an act of kindness back. And in the conversation with this man, he had always wanted to go to school, because he asked him, he said, "When was it in your life that you felt the happiest, that you felt the most joy?" And he said, "When I was in school." And this man was like in his 40s or 50s, okay? So he was kind of an older homeless man. And he said, when I was in school, I loved to learn. And so after he spent the night with him, he said, he told him more what he was doing, about having the TV show and everything. And he said, "And what I'm going to do for you is we're going to pay for you to go back to school. And we're going to provide a way for you to live, to have a house, and have whatever you need while you're going to school." And the man just broke down, because that was his dream, was being able to go back to school and make something of his life more than just being a homeless man. But because he sacrificed so much and he was so giving and so caring. There have been other people that have stated that when we have, that people who have less tend to give more. Have you guys experienced that in your life? So sometimes we can look at that even as being single when we are single, we tend to reach out more to other people that are single. I know I've experienced that in my life, and I've had other people do that for me, with me, to me, whatever. And it's really quite amazing the way that happens. And so, and me telling you this, and not only do I want us all to go now watch the Kindness Diaries on Netflix. I am so looking this up and watching this show. But I want to share with you a couple of thoughts that he shared that I wrote down that I thought were good to share, especially knowing the topic for this week. How cool is it when I know that this is the topic coming up and this is what I get to hear. So he said, the best thing you can do for someone is to see someone, to acknowledge them, and to be kind. How many times do we go to a single adult event? And I don't know if you've experienced it, but I have. The feeling of being ignored, maybe, or of not being seen, maybe feeling a little bit invisible. I felt that in the beginning. Not to say that I feel that now, but I know in the beginning of being single that, I did feel that a little bit. And so I want you to think about that when you go to a single adult event. I want you to, if you can, step outside of you to, we've got some feedback coming here from somebody, hold on. And Elizabeth, I'm gonna turn you back on in just a minute, okay? Anyway, the best thing you can do for someone is to see someone, acknowledge them, and be kind. When you go to your next single event, I want to challenge you to do something that may be way out of your comfort zone. And that is what I call table hopping. Actually, hop on the table, okay? What you're going to do is you're going to go, let's say they have 6 to 8 tables out there, okay? You're going to start off at one table, and you're going to have a 5, 10, 15-minute conversation, depending on how well the conversation goes, with the people sitting at the table. You're going to ask them what their name is, where they're from, how far they came from, whatever. You're going to ask them some of the forward questions, the family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. Any one of those, you don't have to do all 4. And get to know them, acknowledge them, and thank them for being there. I want you to end that conversation with, I'm so glad you're here. Don't say that though unless you mean it, okay? Then I want you to go to the next table and do the same thing again. Now in between, like if you're at a dance, I will guarantee you at some point during that dance, you're gonna be asked to dance, man or woman, okay? Because you're reaching out. So I want you to start doing that. I want you to go to the next table and do the same thing again. Then the next table, and the next table, and the next table, until you know pretty much everybody there. People say, Paula, you know so many people. That is exactly how I know so many people. That is what I spent the first, I don't know how many years of my calling doing. I don't do it so much now. Now I know pretty much everybody that comes to the event, and I still talk to them, and I'll still acknowledge them, and I'll still try to get around to seeing everybody or as many people as I can. But that is exactly what I did, is I did table hopping. And that is an act of kindness, if you will, of seeing them, acknowledging them, and just being kind, and just saying, I'm glad you're here. Or maybe you can compliment them on how they look, or, how the color complements their face or whatever, because there are some colors that look really good on people, right? So just whatever you can do. Hey, can I get you a cup of water? If, especially if they look like they may be struggling to try to move or whatever, because sometimes it's just a good thing to be there. If you've got somebody hanging out in the doorway going, do I come in, do I leave, whatever, those are the people you want to reach out to first. If you've got people sitting in chairs along the wall, if it's set up like that at all, those people you want to reach out to first. Okay, those people sitting at the table have come in a little bit more. Those that are kind of inching their way in need to be acknowledged first. I'm just going to tell you up front, okay? So basically, kindness begins with you. If you want to see the good in the world, you got to be the good in the world. And be that good you want to see. If you're thinking, okay, well, I want somebody to see that I'm here, go and see other people. Acknowledge them and be kind to them. I know that the experience of me table hopping changed me. And at first, it was just because you may find this shocking, but back then, I was not as extroverted as I am now. I was kind of insecure, I was kind of inhibited, and I thought, this is the only way I'm going to get to know people, so I will start off at each table, and I'll do that. I'll start off by that person standing at the door. I'll start off with whatever, okay? I also want to challenge you, if you would, to do 15 days of kindness, just a little act of kindness. It could be anything from opening the door for somebody, to getting somebody a drink, to doing whatever, and do it within your own family. You know, mirror that for them. And then after the 15 days, challenge yourself to do 15 years of it. It is huge. And the difference you make in people's lives is amazing. So when people talk about the friends that we have in single adults and the connection that we have, that's how we get that, because we reach out. We allow ourselves that vulnerability to be the good in the world. Okay. There are two worlds that we're going to function from, and that is our mind and heart, and then also where you're living from. So, so basically, our mind and our heart, you choose which one. You can either be logical about it or you can be feeling about it, right? And depending on your day and how your day is going, you may be one or the other. There's no perfect person that's going to be always doing it from their heart, right? Sometimes you're just going to have to go, okay, Paula said to do this, I'm going to go do this, you know? And that may just be where you're at for the day, and that's okay, okay? Because sometimes it's just taking that first step forward that's really going to change your life. You want to feel more accepted. Be that accepting person of other people. You want to feel like you belong. Go and help someone else feel like they belong. And I promise you that you're going to feel the same way. It is amazing how that works. Okay. The way to get from here to here, the head to the heart, is to help another human being. Is to have another human being treat you like you matter. And so that's what I want you to do for other people. Treat them like they matter. If you've got somebody in your ward that, married or single, whatever, that maybe is struggling with whatever, reach out to them. There are single adults in your ward, and most wards average about 100 single adults, that are feeling like they don't matter. I can promise you that. I know I've dealt with that years ago. Kindness is the best medicine, and it is free, people. It is free. It's just taking that step forward to be able to do that. So, and one other thing he said that I totally loved, he said, true wealth is not in your wallet, it's in your heart. I thought that was pretty profound. You know, true wealth is not in your wallet, it's in your heart. It's what you're able to reach out and do for somebody else. So, and it's a choice. It is a choice to be kind for somebody, especially if they're having a bad day and they're being grumpy, or maybe they're doing something that you feel like could be offensive. If you will return that with kindness, there will be a lot less conflict in the world. Now, if somebody's abusing you, a whole different ballgame. Okay, I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about if somebody's having a bad day and they're just feeling a little grumpy and whatever. Okay, that's totally different than abuse. You do not return abuse with kindness. That's codependency or something. We don't want to do that. Okay. But what I want you to do is I want you to go out to make one human being feel less alone, because that is something that I feel like, and I hear a lot of single adults say that they feel alone. So my goal, my challenge for you, and my goal, I guess you could say, for you, for all of us, is to go out to make a single adult feel less alone. In your ward, at a single adult event, or whatever. You can be the difference in someone's life. And that's a good thing that can come from being a single adult in the church. So many people that we get to reach out to. We have a tremendous blessing to be able to feel and acknowledge and experience what other single adults are going through. And because of that, we also get to expand how we feel. We get to feel more what the Savior feels. We get to experience things that a lot of married people don't. I know when I was married the first time, I didn't really get it. You know, it took the last 12 years to truly be able to understand what people are going through and to be able to feel them. And so when some of the single adults are showing up grumpy or inhibited or nervous or have anxiety or whatever, just reach out to them, because it can be a scary thing for some people. All right. I also want to challenge you to be kind and gentle to yourself. When we are more kind and gentle with ourselves, it's easier to be kind and gentle to someone else. It's not as easy for us to do that. I know, especially as women, to do that all the time. But if you're kind to someone else, there will be times when people may still feel like, or you may feel like there's a perception of, and sadly in the world there's a lot of perception that, oh no, if I'm kind, especially if, I've heard this a lot from men. They feel like if they're kind, then someone's going to think you're weak, or someone's going to squash you and take advantage of you, or someone's going to see you in some sort of a negative way. But that's when I just want you to remind yourself that you want to be the change that you want to see in the world. People are not going to remember so much what you say, but they are going to remember how you make them feel. And that applies even in parenting. If you're trying to teach a kid something and you're making them feel like crap, they're not going to remember that. They're going to remember a thing you said. All they're thinking is, how can I get out of this? I need to get away from this person. They're going to remember how you made them feel. Same thing with other people. So whenever you're interacting with them, they're going to remember more how you made them feel than they're ever going to remember what you say. We can be strong together, and we can make the world better. We can stand by each other to make that happen. Okay? Anyone else have any comments or anything you want to say? I know I did mute Sylvia and Elizabeth. If you guys have something you want to share, please unmute and share. Or I can do it. Did you guys want?
I think I finally got a speaker to work, did I?
Yay, I can hear you. Okay.
Paula, I think what I would want to say is, and it's like kind of off, that what I'm hearing tonight, I'm the oldest one here, and I have a 50th, I can't believe I said that number out loud, high school reunion coming up the end of October. And I have to tell you that I am looking at all of these things. These are all relative, not only to the single adult program, these are all relative to life.
Exactly. Human beings. Yep.
So appreciative. The timing is fabulous. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. I'm glad I helped. All right. And Elizabeth, did you have a comment? No. Okay. All right. Anyone else wanted to share anything? Okay.
Actually, I did, Paula.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me jump in. So your comments and your thoughts tonight are absolutely perfect. I am one of those people who's kind of on the fringe a lot of times and deal with a lot of social anxiety, and it's hard for me to make that first move and to jump out and be the one who initiates a conversation. But Heavenly Father absolutely knew what he was doing, because just today I was called to be our ward single adult rep. So I'm pretty excited, thrilled.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, so your comments tonight, I'm like taking notes.
Awesome. And which ward are you in?
Ackworth Ward in Cartersville State.
Awesome. That's fabulous. Oh yeah, and you've got great steak reps. You got Kylene and Tom. They're awesome.
Yeah. It's
Okay, great. Awesome. All right. So I want to share with you some things I have learned through the years. There have been, now I've shared with you guys before, I'm a personal development junkie, so personal development has been a big deal for me. I have so many personal development books. It's like crazy. I have my own library. My kids have given me a hard time about it. But what I realized going in, and I've been taught things through the years, but not really understanding exactly how to apply them in my life. For instance, my first therapist after my last divorce shared with me something that for me was quite awesome and profound, so much so that I've shared it with children, with my children and with other people, and it has made a huge impact in my life. And she said, Paula, it's like this whiteboard she had up there was like a window. And she said, and this was your normal. You know, you can open and close that window or whatever, but this was your normal. Just pretend that you were going through, you know, all the pieces that come together to hold that glass together was your family normal. You know, they're going to school, going to church, going to wherever. That was our daily routine, our normal whatever. She said, and then your ex-husband just basically picked up a baseball bat and smashed that window, and it shattered everywhere, and left you to pick up the pieces. And she says, and you're there trying to put it all back together, and it's not going to go back together like it was. It can't. There's no way. She said, but what you can do is you can pick up the pieces that you want to keep, like going to church every Sunday, or getting the kids to school, or, you know, family dinners, or whatever that we did before, since it was just me and my kids. She said that what then you can create is your new normal. And you'll have this beautiful stained glass window. May not be able to look out of it like you did with the clear one, but it will be a beautiful thing to look at. And through the years, you will create that new normal. And your kids will come to rely on it. And it can be a beautiful thing. So for me, that hit home really, really well. It resonated with me. And that was the first major thing I learned, because that was like everything happened on the Saturday night. Thursday, I was in a therapist's office with my kids. And so that was like one of the first things she shared with me within the first couple of weeks that I was seeing her. And so through the years, I've tried to create my new normal. And I have shared, like I said, that similar analogy, if you will, to other people in creating your new normal. And sometimes in reaching out to other people, that is a good thing, to be able to realize I've got, you know, may have some shattered stuff on the floor, but I can pick up what I can and create something beautiful with this. You can make your mess your message. That's something that a friend of mine shares a lot. You can make a message of your mess. And that's basically what I'm doing, because trust me, honey, it was a mess. But now it is coming from this, you know, you can be bitter or you can be better. And I just chose to be better. And it wasn't easy. It took a few years for me to overcome all the anger, to go through those stages of grief, if you will, of that loss, to get through it all and to be able to get to where I'm at now. And I continue to try to do more self-improvement, because I'm not where I want to be. And I don't know if I'll ever be exactly where I want to be, but I continue to, I'm always with the hope and with the goal of tomorrow's going to be better than today. And when life does throw some curveballs at me, I may cry for a few minutes, and then I get back up and go at it with a solution and go, okay, well, now here's what I can do with this. So, and that can happen along the way. And so that's something that's happened to me. Now, the greatest blessings have been the friends that I do have. I will tell you that. But also, even, I don't know, right up there with that tied, or maybe even a little bit better, is the benefit from my kids. My kids have benefited from me participating in the single adult program. At first, I thought, oh no, if I miss every second Saturday going to the temple and gone all, the rest of the afternoon, what's that going to do for my kids? Number one, it gave them a break from me. And, they didn't have another parent, but my kids were 7 to 15 when I became single. And so, my 15-year-old could stay with the younger ones, and then that was fine. And that worked for me for a while. And my kids would tell me how much better that they felt like I felt when I came home from one of those. I was less stressed. So it can be kind of like a stress reliever even, and just being able to connect with other people. So for me, that was a good thing. My kids have gained a stronger testimony. Some of them have gained a stronger testimony of the gospel and of the temples. All 4 of my sons do go to church. I know that I do have a daughter that's left the church, and there's not a whole lot I can do about that right now, but she's not anti the church, which I'm grateful for. So it's just she's dealt with some stuff in her life and still dealing with some stuff, and that's just where life's taken her right now. But with that said, my boys all participated in Boy Scouts. My daughter did participate in Young Women's. I've had kids. I just feel like I've been so very blessed with my children being who they are, because through the years, as my anger has diffused, they've been able to be more kind and calm and loving toward other people. And that is something that I just feel like when we make an effort to be that difference and to be that change, it's huge. So whenever I hear somebody say, and my mom was big about this because my mom was a single mom all my adult life, and up until she passed away in 2011. And she would say things like, nobody talked to me at church today. I'm like, well, what time did you get there? She's like, oh, I got there a few minutes late. The meeting had already started. Well, what time did you leave? I left right before the prayer. And I was like, did you expect somebody to come and talk to you during the meeting? I don't know how that's supposed to work. But she just expected people to come to her, to do things for her. And so she wasn't happy with her ward. She wasn't happy with her, the single adult, whatever. She would always look for the bad and almost create it, if you will. And so I learned from that, and I didn't want to do that when I became a part of the single adult program. So I want to challenge you, if you will, to reach out to people every Sunday when you go to church. Reach out to someone. Make somebody else feel less alone. You never know. I mean, there are people struggling, and for those of you who've had several children, one thing that I do make a point of is, especially if I'm sitting around a mom with a bunch of kids and she's struggling with them throughout the meeting, I will say something positive to her after that meeting. And 9 times out of 10, they apologize for their children's behavior. And I always say, no worries, I completely understand. I had 5 myself, and 4 of those were boys. Trust me, honey, they were a little noisy sometimes during sacrament meeting. So, but we can always try to just do something to make somebody's day better. It doesn't cost any money. It's free to go and help somebody else feel better, to make life better. And I find that the more you practice this, the better this will be in your dating relationships as well, for those of you that want to date. When you can take on the outlook of looking for the good instead of critiquing, and being more accepting and less judging and that kind of thing, oh my goodness, how that's going to help you in your relationships in the future. And how much happier of a marriage you're going to have. So when you do that too, you'll also have people that will just absolutely love you and will just be like grateful that you're in their life, because you helped them feel better when they did not feel so good. And I think that's the biggest thing I've learned in being a single adult is how many people's lives we impact. Because like Brian said earlier, we're all single in this together for some reason. If you know another single adult, you were meant to know that person for some reason. And you were meant to make a difference in their life, generally for good. And if you can choose to do that through an act of kindness, through a statement that you make, through whatever, oh my goodness, the difference you will make in their life and how much better you will make them feel. I don't know why we're all single right now together. I don't know why many of us, are single a long time, other than the fact that there are things we can learn from this. But if you're sitting around going, oh, I can't believe I'm still single. I can't believe I can't find anybody, or whatever else, making those kind of statements, or feeling frustrated that the Lord's doing whatever to you, it's going to be more of a challenge for you to learn this. So I'm going to challenge you to step outside of that and to realize the reason it's taking more time is because you've got a little bit more to learn. And the Lord is training you. He is building you up to become the man or the woman that you were meant to be before you meet that person. Okay? And you can start that with feeling grateful, with having that at the end of the day. Get a little journal or notebook or whatever, and write down a couple of things you're grateful for. Write down what is good that's going on in your life, and then how much closer you are to that goal as a person you are that you want to be. So, and what I do with work, we also create vision boards, and there's a lot of corporate people I know that do this as well. You create what's called a vision board of what type of goals you want to accomplish by the end of the year. And you can do it in pictures, you can do it in words, or whatever it is that you want to do. Because for many of us, we're visual. And if we can see that every day, you're going to get to that goal that you want to be. So maybe you want to put if you want to get married in the temple, put a picture of the temple in there, maybe the temple you want to get married in. Maybe if you want to date, show a picture of a man and a woman sitting at a dinner table. If you want a friend, if you want to make a closer friend, or maybe have a closer group of friends, have a picture of that. If you want to have a closer relationship with your children, have a picture of that. If you want to, be promoted at work, or whatever your goal is, right? Create pictures. It looks kind of like a collage, if you will. And it's really cool. And then you can keep your eye on that. If you have a goal to finish reading the Book of Mormon by the end of the year, get a picture of that up there to remind you. There's something called, I think it's LDS Scripture Tools, that will actually calendar, if let's say, for instance, you want to read the Book of Mormon by the end of the year, that will take you from today to the end of the year and tell you exactly how many pages or chapters you need to read by the end of the year to do that. Just a little side note there if you want to do that. Whatever it is, magnifying your calling, or, exercising, or whatever it is that you want to do, okay? Create that. Then you can become that a little bit at a time. And don't get so impatient with yourself or with life, because it will happen a little bit at a time. Most of the time, you're not going to get dumped on all these blessings and your vision board is going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen. Not most of the time. Haven't known anybody that's going to happen to. Usually you have to set some goals, come up with a plan, and make that happen. There are so many wonderful things that can happen to you, with you, for you, that you can be, that you can do and for and with somebody else as well while you're single in the church. There's so much good we can do and be for the world, especially the world of single adults, because there's a lot of us. Okay, we're a third of the adult population in the church. That's pretty huge. And in your ward, you average about 100. And then you may be saying, what? Not my ward. Where are they? Go to your clerk. Ask them for a custom list of the single adults in your ward, because you want to reach out to them. Most of the time, that's 80 to 150 people. 80% of those are going to be less active. Reach out to them. To the active ones that you know, reach out to them. We want to keep them coming, right? Invite them, carpool with them to a single adult event. Please don't go by yourself, especially if you're going by the first time. I would not recommend that. If you want to be brave to do that, let's go ahead. Put your brave face on. Let's go. And I'll be there to give you a hug if you're coming my way. And hopefully other people will embrace you if you're going somewhere else. But just know that we love you and we care about you, and you're just incredible people. And we all have something to learn from each other. That's my message that I had to share for tonight. Do you guys have anything else you'd like to share?
I love that, Paula. It is such an amazing opportunity for us to, like y'all were saying, we're in this program, we're single for a reason. We're coming across these people for a certain reason. And, I love my analogy that I use all the time about the renovation. Like my mind's being renovated constantly. We're redecorating the walls sometimes, and new paint, new pictures, and all that kind of stuff. And so what I try to do is, when I meet someone else, what is it that I can add from them to my wall, to my foundation, into my home, into my mind? What can I gain from them? And I've gained so much from everyone, like you and everyone in this group. And I used to be one of those people, like, why don't anybody talk to me? Or with the single adult thing, participating on this webinar and being vulnerable and putting myself out there has been the key to me having a totally different experience at single adult conferences, at single activities, because I did take a step out there to connect with you guys after I was invited. Like, you invited me. So we need to make sure that we invite. But I just think it's a beautiful thing. Right now, I'm supposed to be gaining as much as I can from all of you guys to add to my mind and my foundation to prepare me for whoever it is that I may end up with. Which sometimes I think is scary. Is it taking this long to prepare him for me? Either I'm a hot mess or he is. Well, probably both of us. We're both hot messes and we're still being repaired. We're prepared for each other. So anyway, but yeah, I love it. It's a beautiful thing. I shared that today at church. I was in a different ward today, and they were talking about that, about finding joy in your hardships and your trials and things like that. And I just had to point out that everybody's enduring well is different. And, because we are where we are because of who we are and our journeys, and that we have to be mindful of that your well might not be the same as my well,
Amen.
Anyway, but yes, that's what I want to say.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You're a wonderful woman. All right. Anyone else have anything else you want to share before we sign off? I really appreciate you guys sharing your Sunday evening with me. As always, you guys are just so great. Really appreciate your comments, and I appreciate your time. When we will join back together next week, I plan to send out an email with this recording as well as the topic for next week. So what I'm going to do is just have you just share it, if you will, with other people, or share some insight that you've gained tonight with someone else. But definitely go out and be kind to someone, because they're going to need it. I'll see you later. You guys are awesome.
Bye, Jim.
Bye.